Welcome to a short reflection by Sebastian Mahfoud on Canto 15 of Dante's Inferno. Dante places the Sodomites in the third round of the seventh circle because their sterile acts were considered to be a form of violence against nature. Their acts contrast with those of the lustful in the second canto, who acted according to nature, but who did so inordinately, replacing love for the Creator with lust for the creature. We don't find the Sodomites with the carnal, though, for the very reason that sodomy is an abuse of reason, not just an abuse of appetite. Herein, we bump again into that principle we learned at the foot of Minos, that souls descend according to the greater guilt. One would think, for instance, that the circle of the carnal would be the most populated in hell, considering all the lust in the world. But lust is usually a gateway to greater crimes, as we see here. If one could be only lustful, then one would actually be pretty well off. Even though the carnal and the violent against nature are punished in two different places in hell, those who repented of either guilt while they were yet alive meet up in the seventh cornice of purgatory. That is, one ledge of Mount Purgatory is sufficient to expiate the sins of both groups, though they move counterclockwise to one another up there as they undergo their purification. Ser Brunetto Latini was one of Dante's former teachers, and Dante is actually surprised to see him racing around this desert. In the work Latini cites, his Tesoretto, or Little Treasure, Dante scholar Julia Holloway points out that it had said, in its introduction, that were it ever to be misread and abused by boys, it would be preferable to have its pages burn in hell flames. It is poetic irony that Dante depicts not the book, but its author receiving the edge of that curse, demonstrating, perhaps, a principle advanced by Plato in the Phaedrus, that the text is an extension of the person, but it's only good if the person can appear to live up to its rhetoric, that is, to its intentional communication, and defend the points it advances with his body in face-to-face dialogue, better than he advanced it with his disembodied words that can't respond to the queries made by its readers. In short, you can yell at a text all day long, it's still going to go on stubbornly saying the same thing. After Latini concludes his conversation with Dante, he notices a group of souls advancing with whom he cannot join company, and takes off across the burning sands. His action is a physical demonstration of the increasing breakdown of community in hell. Groups from this point out will disintegrate in the eighth circle into infighting, and, in the ninth circle, even mock cannibalism. Violence seems to be treated by Dante in an interesting way. When added to any of the above appetites, it causes an inverse punishment in the seventh circle. The lesser appetites are condemned to greater torment than the more serious appetites when violence attends them. This is how it works. The violent carnal are in the last round of the seventh circle, but their counterparts among the lustful are in the second circle, like bookends. Moving inwards from that, we find the suicides in the second round of the seventh circle, but their counterparts, the gluttons, are in the third circle as destroyers of their own flesh through selfish pursuits. The wasters of their substance are also in the second round of the seventh circle, but their counterparts, the prodigals, are in the fourth circle. The violent against neighbor, finally, are in the first round of the seventh circle, but their counterparts are in the fifth circle as the wrathful. An exception to this is the usurers, who are furthest down in the seventh circle as the violent against art, but they are related to the hoarders of the fourth circle. So the least among the appetites becomes, generally speaking, the worst among the violent. What Dante seems to be saying is that our overindulgence in our natural appetites follows a specific pattern. We've seen this before. We first lust after what another can give us. Then we consume it by ourselves. Then we seek to draw all things to us for our own use. Then we lash out against those who come near them. Violence, though, perverts this order. For us to pursue lust violently, when it comes most naturally and is the least of the sins, is a worse abuse of reason than when we lash out mortally at another who gets too close to our things. Lashing out mortally is one step beyond simple wrath, while violent abuse of our sexual nature is several steps beyond it. There's room here for further reflection, of course.